right?
I think.
This is like the floor kind of thing. Cardano Cool. So hello and welcome to the stream. This is a stream with myself, A, and my good friend Tevo. The idea here is that we're gonna go through the current proposals on the Catalyst Fund. The Catalyst Fund is a decentralized fund that is available to anyone on the planet. Come along if you've got a local problem which you're looking to solve. You're able to come and put forward a proposal in the format of this is a problem that I'm looking to solve, and here's a solution that I'm putting forward. And then additionally, you can put in stuff like I've got this experience. And break down, if this problem is solved, it would result in blah, 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 and all these other awesome things happening as a byproduct of the thing coming into existence. And as the title shows, there's up to 250 or estimated around 250 USD equivalent of ADA that is available to be distributed amongst the folks who will actually be successful in the applications. The idea is that the fund resets every 6 weeks, right? We haven't quite got into that cadence yet, so this is just Fund 2 that we're going to be reviewing. Up next, I believe January, Fund 3 will begin, and then from that point, the idea is that it's going to be every 6 weeks. So this is it, Cardano.ideascale.com. And it basically breaks down exactly what I said. So the idea is to innovate together, and then as a community we're able to vote on the favorite ideas, and you just sort of stay up to date in terms of what's happening. So that's it, Project Catalyst. That's a little logo there. And I'll just jump here to sort of show the different stages. So in the beginning, you submit your proposal. After you submit it, you then get the opportunity. So this lasts around a week. Then you get the opportunity to then refine it in the following week. And then you finalize it before the idea is then assessed by select folks or people who self-select to be assessors. And then after that, there's a voter discussion. Then I believe the voting happens. And then those who are not successful are archived. Those who are successful are funded. Again, it's still experimental. And all this is most likely going to change and evolve as we learn from the whole process. Right. So I'll jump forward here to the listings of Fund 2. So as I said before, there are different funds. Today we're going to be looking at the fund proposals for Fund 2. And the idea here is, the challenge, I believe, is to put forward ideas which would encourage developers and entrepreneurs to build stuff within Cardano over the next 6 months. So that's the framing around the frame / metric to which, or the bar that we're going to be kind of evaluating some of these ideas by roughly, because some of us are of the opinion that the challenge, it wasn't particularly, say, the best challenge to have set out, but anyway, in general, the idea behind this is we're going to have Tevo and I go through all the proposals, which are going to be in a randomized order, right? So as you can see,
right now it might not be.
I
think you have to go back.
I was trying to get to it by going forward, but that's apparently not happening. So here you're able to filter the list of ideas, right, by popular trending. Have a look at my ideas, which we won't. Well, actually, this is my idea cast. But so random. And then what this does is that it repopulates this whole thing. It should populate this whole thing in a randomized order. And as you can see, or actually, if we go into this, it then illustrates here that there are 78 proposals. And so the idea here is that, yeah, we're going to go through all of these quickly, maximum of 2 minutes each, and just sort of give like strengths and weaknesses. So like best case scenario, if this worked, like what, what's the potential, kind of thing, as opposed to saying, I would vote for this or I would not vote for that, because, that's, influencing and sort of bias, etc. Yeah. So, Tevo, is there anything you want to add or that I left out that you just want to add that I might have missed out on, or just anything?
I think you covered everything, and we should just jump right into it. I guess I'll start first, and then you, and we take turns.
Okay, awesome.
Reading them.
Cool.
So, Pet Registry dApp plus API. Problem statement. Devs are inspired by successful apps and tools needed to build them. By creating both, we inspire and accelerate devs and solutions. So, what else?
Well, I'll just try and make it a little bit bigger there.
Devs are inspired by successful apps. And by creating both, we inspire. So they want to create something, an app.
Yeah.
They want. Okay, so they are like assuming something, and they want to create it. Okay, what is the describe your solution?
Yeah. Let's have a look at the solution that they're proposing.
API helps devs accept ADA payments on websites. Pet Registry dApp built on API service a global audience in cheaper, better way. So I assume everything is so related to pet. Like, so they have a dog, cat, somebody, they want to put their name, or I assume they want to like register that they own that pet, and they want to pay to register it using ADA pretty much. That's how I feel it.
Yeah, I mean, hang on. Actually, it would be good for me to actually start a timer somewhere. I forgot to do that. Yeah, it's for me. I'm a bit confused with a pet registry. I don't see where the pet registry fits in the problem statement or the solution. So I'm a little bit confused. But maybe from the assumption that you made, I don't know how big of I'm not a pet owner, so I don't know. The pain point of pet registry, and whether it's a big enough problem that a solution can be created, which is, solving a big problem, a big pain point, and, that a lot of people would actually use. However, having said that, I think the API idea, like having a payments API, is super awesome, I think. And I think from a number of other proposals, go on.
Yeah, I like two things about this. So there is you want to register things, and then you want to, I guess the payment is to solidify the registration. So I guess as a pet project, it would be a good first try into registering assets, tokenizing them, and solidifying them. And I guess the niche they are trying to use is pet registry, and like you said, I don't also have no idea how complicated it is. To me, it's like I just go to wherever dogs are sold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
or pets, and you just, I guess, buy them. And I do know that you do have breeds and stuff where it's getting very complicated, and you have to have this doctor thing. But it doesn't. From this, it doesn't sound like it addresses that issue.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah. So I think that the strengths really are in the payment API here. So yeah, Adaverse Franco is the proposer there. Okay, so moving on to the next one.
Should I also take time for you, or we should always?
No, it's fine, because on here I can actually done. Yeah, I can just reset it. Yeah, because I've got like a big screen here.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
yeah, hit reset.
Yeah.
Okay, so from Rob Grieg, right, Cardano stake pool library. Problem statement: choosing a stake pool. Choosing a pool to stake your ADA to is confusing, and there's no way to understand what each operator stands for without visiting each site. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Okay, let's have a look at his solution. The Cardano stake pool library will offer summaries, category filtering, etc. to enable a better way to choose a pool that suits your values. Okay. Yeah, what do you think?
Sounds like a deal to me, because right now, I mean, in the Catalyst wallet or Daedalus wallet itself, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't feel very intuitive. And then when you go technical into the other pools and whatever else we have, there is literally getting too technical, and you usually just sort by value, and nothing else there gives you that. So sounds cool. Downside is, I don't know. There's always marketing downsides, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's it's a great idea. Although I feel like I think the first question is why 20 seconds. The first question is why will this functionality not exist, say, within Daedalus or something? But then having said that, I think what's actually good about this is that it's important not to then just rely on IOHK, the company who actually build the Daedalus wallet, in terms of filtering stake pools, etc. Having more sources where people can actually make sense of which pool to have to delegate their stake to, I think is actually quite important and valuable. Yeah,
cool. You get just a lot of information. It all depends how they execute it, but I think it's quite good. And if I check the cost of it, it's 6.5% of total. So I think I will go that.
Cool. All right.
Although I should have not said that, but sometimes a good idea is a good idea.
Well, actually, I mean, you bring up a good good point, which is, should we be looking or thinking about the practical side of this? Because as we kind of spoken about before, we're not going to be looking at the team, etc., etc. We're just like having a look at the ideas and seeing, okay, if this works, kind of thing. Like how, like what's the essence of the idea here? Because I think if you start to get into how much they're asking for, then we're looking at implementation. It's like, okay, so because some people might be asking for a lot because it's a smaller team, or a bigger team, right? If it's inflated. So I feel like possibly getting into how much they're asking for kind of goes beside the point, especially at this stage. What do you think?
Okay, I will. Yeah, sure.
I mean, does that make sense? Because otherwise, we'll need like 10 minutes to then.
I just got
really...
ahead of myself. I'm like,
okay,
it's a good idea. Oh, they don't ask even much. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so this one's you. Go away. There we go.
The Cardano Aura podcast. Talented people in the ecosystem have trouble promoting their website, dApps, and projects that bring value to the Cardano's ecosystem. I create a live podcast that promotes long-form discussions where people can demo their projects and proposal to a wider audience. Okay, so he does he does promoting for others. He just finds what is interesting, gets people on, you share what other people do, and I guess that's good. I actually have seen him a few times, and maybe even subscribed, but I don't know.
Disclaimer.
There's this is the problem where where you don't know the person, and you don't know what he. I guess it's in a long term it's a good thing, because the more people share the information, the better. But yeah, everybody has to dig deeper here and what he does, and so like feel him, like how does he affect like the people he onboards, and or how he talks, and what his own goals are. So there are like two sides of it. Like the overall idea is good. We just need to share information and everything what is positive and hopeful, and if somebody builds something, it brings value. The more we share it, the better.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so yeah, throughout this Fund2, podcasts have basically, been quite, been criticized a bunch. And I think rightfully so, because in a way, there has to be a balance between self-promotion, right, which a lot of, say, these podcasts do, which is like, oh, hey, stake to my pool, and then having a sort of, without having a disclaimer of like, actually I am, I'm selling something kind of thing. You know what I mean? If you're to establish yourself as an environment to convey information, you have to establish what the you have to disclaim a bunch of what your biases are, right? So for example, as we just talked about earlier, like if we start to break down things, one will need a lot more time, but aside from that, like we're introducing, the idea behind cast is not to be, to have bias and introduce that. Actually, that's one thing that I've been quite keen on in figuring out. So I feel like the whole podcast critique is valid, and is an ongoing problem, which I think
Although I think when you think about Cardano and here, when a person comes in, maybe he has some like experience already. The first bump, like you don't want to like ongoingly always fund him, but the first bump always is like could be the thing he actually needs and brings value, because the equipment and stuff to get right, and maybe he has own work and beside, and then he can like balance the actual work and quality of that thing. And when he really, I'm speaking for myself, but when you do really get a value and people put the responsibility, like when people give you money, then you feel more responsible, and then you put more value into it. And when you get the results out and you get more like attention from this result, then you know what is your actually what is like expected from you. And then you also get the first audience, and you can start building from your own there, and you don't need more funding. So it's hard to like access.
I feel like what you just said is really important, because from my experience of having had a look at some of these podcast proposals, is they do not actually outline, here's how I'm going to use this initial money, and then I'm going to become self-sustaining after that. As you said, like, because so far, even with TCE, the Cardano Effect podcast, like, this was part of the criticism, where it's like, oh, are you going to keep coming back for money, as opposed to, creating, putting yourself in a position where you're actually continually, creating value, and you're self-sustaining, right? That makes a lot of sense. So big picture here, being a place where talented folks in the ecosystem are able to actually communicate the value that they're creating is important, but how it's done, right, is important. So number 4, if it will load. Okay. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, so
the irony. Let's talk about it.
The irony. Actually, these two are linked in a way, right? So, so this is my proposal. This is I just find this really funny, the fact they actually came up and I'm the one reading it, and the fact they came up after the previous one. No, it's fine. So cast onboarding 7 billion plus. So that okay, so that's that. Problem statement: YouTube/podcast are inefficient and unsustainable. The solution: the contextually curated, collaborative, and conversational cryptocurrency content cast. That's a lot of C's, and I like alliteration. Yeah, so again, as I said, we won't speak much about this. We'll move on from this because obviously, going back to conflict of interest, the essence of the idea here is, to create a place with, that is accountable in terms of, enabling folks to communicate the value that they're creating, whilst being open and sort of disclaiming the biases and so on, so that it can actually be an environment that is trusted and that is sustainable. So anyway,
I have a question about this. Does this cast mean for everybody to be a streamer and everybody on board, or you still want to be like the Joe Rogan of it?
Okay, so that's a really interesting question. Tell you what, should I pause the timer or I'll try, and I can't answer that in 8 seconds. So I'll just pause it. Okay, so this is a really interesting question, which I am looking to actually break down and so be able to communicate on Cast.live as well. So to answer your question, what has occurred to me is, in a short term, Cast.live in a way has to be the A show, right? I kind of have to play the Joe Rogan role where I'm having people come on, blah 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 blah. But eventually, the idea is, starting there, which has become evident to me that I kind of need to do that, and in a way, people can kind of defer their trust for Cast and the structure in all the different programs that are created to me, and then eventually to an objective structure which is going on without me having to be in a position to influence it, to a place where people are actually able to create their own programs and have them run on Cast, right? And have book in different slots and be able to actually have have a sustainable thing which is decentralized, right? That's the idea. And then obviously onboarding is gradually happening, right? Because all these different programs are taking into account different geographies, different languages, I suppose on the surface, and even deeper, different people's understanding of technically how stuff work, crypto and so on. Does that kind of answer your question, or?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
It did. I was just you went more deeper than I expected.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, that's good. Cool. Okay, I'll start the timer. Go ahead.
All right. Fandom auction and sales platform. Ooh, I like Fandom. We would like to completely rebuild our sales platform with focus on security. Is that the problem, that you want to rebuild stuff? Stability and the interactivity with Cardano blockchain. Well, it's not a problem, but okay, I get what they want to do. Fund2 can assist us in acquiring the necessary resources to hire professionals to code our new platform and write smart contracts. So that's not the solution either. Is this an ideate, or is this actually a challenge?
Let's see.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
Yeah. It's fun to challenge.
Structured so differently compared to others.
Yeah,
because I don't. Honestly, I don't think it's a problem that you want to rebuild things, and I don't think it's a solution that you can get money from here.
True, yeah. I suppose if one was to try hard and have a look at what the key problem that they're addressing here, I would say the key problem that they're looking at here is payment, right? This is basically, it's a website where I'm assuming you've got auctions and it's a store, right? Fandom store. Probably have NFTs or something on there, something like that. Yeah, and the idea here is fundamentally, how do you connect commerce right? It kind of goes back to what the payment API, with the API idea from previous. That's kind of what I get. So I think that done well, and often like eBay, right? eBay started out with people who are just like really like big fans of like really weird small thing, like niche things, so there's value in sort of doing it that way, to start out and establish like the API payments, etc. So yeah.
Oh, okay, so I get it now. The problem he states is that the sales platforms, security, stability, and the interactivity with Cardano blockchain is like literally missing, because there is no smart contracts right now there, and they want to address it. Yeah, it's a problem that we don't have it. But
I agree. So I think it's just the framing, but also the timing, because as you said, like Gogan isn't out yet. So 100%. Okay, now number 6 random thing. So from Geronimo,
oh, that guy.
Envelope, a wallet with plugins. Okay, so the people's wallet envelope. Okay, let's have a look at what they're proposing. So problem statement. Official Cardano wallets are limited in the features and usefulness they provide. Our wallet will support plugins and functions people need. Okay, if I could just quickly give a comment on the problem before I get to the solution. The first thing that comes to mind is, yes, Daedalus and say Roy are limited, but the idea that the teams working behind it are, to gradually introduce more features to it. So I would be interested to see why this proposal thinks that they can be able to work faster and have a different risk profile to the current teams building the current wallets are available. So the solution: to create a wallet with support for plugins developed and maintained by the community. Need a feature? Install a plugin or create one. Okay. Yeah. What do you think?
I actually have followed his development videos and this guy a little bit more, even, and he has a pool opened, and he actually he has a point. When he started, there was no contracts and stuff, but there was these transactions that or addresses, and he already wanted to like make a Shopify something. And then he ran like a Shopify plugin, and then he ran into problem like shuffling these wallets, because the Cardano wallet is creating always new tokens, and when you sell, it like piles up and you don't see them, and then they are lost somewhere in the network, and yeah, this project was related with this thing to like fix it. So official Cardano wallets are limited in the feature and usefulness. So yeah, he literally like the limit was that not enough wallet addresses where you can send your transactions, and these transactions were like plugged into centralized place. And yeah, because I have so many insight, I think it was a cool idea. It was like a workaround. It's a hack, which is, but what you state is that is it really needed if like in 3 months the Gogan is out and it's done, then this is like obsolete.
True. Yeah.
But then again, I always have like in wherever I go, there are always some Excels in between the real systems, which work and people use.
Yeah, I suppose to sort of zoom out, big picture here. I feel like, yeah, we probably need to change the time. We're not able to get these in 2 minutes. Maybe we should shift it up to, I don't know, like 3 or 4 or something. And yeah, so big picture here. I think the idea of sort of decentralized functionality is wonderful and awesome. I like what the Dandelion project is doing, led by Roberto and Gimbal Labs as well. Like all that, the approach that they're taking is fundamentally decentralized, right? This kind of like Lego, like, oh, you need a feature, like, add it in this way. But yeah, I agree. in the short term before it's actually live on the mainnet, when the Goguen release is out, like I suppose I'm sort of like trying to figure out what is the value in the short term that this hack would, because the problem is not like so painful, like that this hack would be solving stuff that that people just cannot live without between now and like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But with the plugins, there is always an upside that let's say you are like a shop worker and you need you give some service or you sell some goods, and then you're like, oh, there is something, and you just install it. Maybe you have to put some tagline in your website, and it just connects you to this plugin, and everything just works. Your design, like they pay with what. It depends how the plugin looks like, but usually they are like very like WordPress like, where you just install, you do some maybe few lines, and you're good to go. And that would actually be very impactful.
Yeah, it would be, given that a lot of 20-something% of sites are on the web are on WordPress. However, I think even bigger than that is creating like widgets, which are able to be secure, which can be implemented like on any website in a much simpler and better, clearer, quicker way. Who read this one?
I did.
Maybe. You did? Okay.
I don't know. I don't remember. I know. I think I did, and maybe I didn't.
No, that was me. It was me. Yeah. Wait. So time-wise, shall we go on to?
Okay, we can try. There might be something we gonna repeat, and then we can win our time back
really quickly. Okay, cool. What? So you think stay at 2 minutes or move on to 3 minutes?
2 minutes still.
2 minutes. Okay, cool. Let's start. Go.
Education and information sharing. Problem: we need to find more Cardanians to help grow this network. Of course, there's too little of us. Describe your solution. I want to make educational and informational videos. I want to share all the news about Cardano to the world. Cardano Mint is the way. I don't know what is that, but I applaud you. But well, it's good that somebody wants more growing, and I think all of us want who are in this system. Is this something to be shouted about? Like what you bring here? Maybe go do it. Yeah. I don't like see the. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. I think it's a good thing, but what he's proposing, what is the thing he want? Cardano Mint is the way. What is that?
Yeah, but maybe they expanded on it at the bottom.
Yeah, probably they did.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But in this format, he's gonna get smacked.
Yeah,
in my eyes.
That's true. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly. Oh, thank you for doing that. For actually sharing it. I was about to share the link to the thing. Bad me, but you already did in the voting. Awesome, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think big picture here. Ooh, we've actually got this in like in 2 minutes. We've got 20 seconds to go. Okay. Yeah, I think big picture here. Education is important. And or adoption is important, and the best way, I believe, is through informational or informative videos / education. So moving on to number 8. Number 8, has that loaded? Yes, it has. Cardano Hub. Start. Right. So Andri has suggested or proposed. So Cardano Hub problem statement. The existence of Cardano Hub will help community building, aid adoption, involvement of developers and entrepreneurs into Cardano ecosystem. Yeah. Okay, so solution. Cardano Hub, your key to the future. Hub will include meetup space, co-working, library, media, cafe, bookstore, startup accelerator, etc. Okay, so big picture here, like what I'm getting because obviously hub can be physical or digital, right, or virtual or physical. I think there's definitely a value and an importance in having a place where people meet, right? Because ideas are exchanged, right? You're able to have information which is not just repeated in a whole bunch of different places inefficiently. Hopefully, information which is decentralized, but you can also sort of trust in terms of how that's come together. So yeah, I think especially physical space, I think that's quite valuable. What do you think?
Yep, I think the last guy has to come to this guy and
Exactly. Yeah. Meet up and collaborate. And actually, you bring up a really good point, which is, for example, James. He had a proposal, and then they met up and actually sort of like combined a proposal, which then became Gimba Labs, right? So there is the potential for that to happen within Catalyst, where if there's a synergy between proposers can then get together and decide to actually like blend and work together. Awesome, dude. We're killing it. All right, here we go. Okay, this is you now.
Create the message signing standard. Problem. Prove reserves, identity, delegation to a pool, and more. So I guess these are missing. And describe your solution. Implement our specification. You can find here more information. See previous work section for more information. Okay, so Sebastian, we know it's from Morga, so he probably has a lot of details under that Git thing. And I don't know what actually is message signing standard. Like it's just like a clear way how to put the pin in, and at like or how it pops up, or
this again, like the interface to communicate the problems is not the best, right? I mean, I like the fact that the problem statement, you've got a restriction of amount of words or characters you can type in. That's good, but then sometimes it's too constricting that you can actually communicate succinctly what the value proposition is. But I mean, to be able to prove reserves, identity, delegating to a pool, and more.
Also, you pretty much want to put your own like signature on top of whatever asset you are like having, and some kind of standard where like always the same way.
I'm assuming so. Yeah, and so I think this is great. In my mind, I think such functionality will actually naturally evolve from the actual development of wallets and infrastructure in general. So my question with this is, why isn't this something that IOG/IOHK, Cardano Foundation, or Emergo, why are those three entities not building this functionality? Because for one, Sebastian is hired by Emergo, and he is one of the minds behind the Yoroi wallet. So the fact that this is being funded from the treasury, like I've found it difficult to understand why such funding is kind of being requested from here. Like I feel like a conversation from this is like, okay, what's the difference or distinction? Like, does this need to come from here, or should the funding already come from those three companies which already have a lot of funding? And a lot, and part of that is actually goes towards things like
maybe this is an example how developers should do it, but
you do bring up a good point, but then even that, like, what's the balance between those who are in charge of stewarding the protocol as well as maintaining and advancing it? What's the balance between what they do, what they use their funds to do, and what the community does? Does that make sense? Yeah. So okay, cool. So yeah, great idea. Is this me or you?
Again, I forgot. I don't know. So
yeah, I'll.
Okay, go.
Yeah, I'll read it. So from Borja, understanding developers' feelings. Okay, that's already interesting. Emotions. Okay, let's see. Most entrepreneurs slash devs wanting to use the blockchain are already doing it, and they will not migrate unless they have the right incentives. Okay, yeah, I agree. Okay. Describe your solution. Assess potential incentives for entrepreneurs slash devs to migrate by understanding what they love and hate about the current chain. What do you think?
I agree with the problem statement. Solution, I have to read it again.
Yeah, it's basically. I'm assuming it's like, I don't know. Send out surveys to to if I was to put it bluntly, send out a survey and ask Ethereum devs why they think Ethereum sucks and why they should come over to
Yeah.
to Cardano.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so pretty much like a marketing thing.
yeah, in a way. Although my yeah, go on.
I was just like thinking is it
Okay.
is it like yeah like if it is proposal being like okay, then now there is a project, but let's go get on this, then what comes out of it? Just little, like you said, like we send emails to a bunch of people, gather data and see what people want to get. And I think this is a good thing. Then we can like see where we want. But then again, we have so many things we already want to do. So why others who are not part of our ecosystem, why we want them to be in? Because maybe our goals are to save the planet, but their goal is to make money. So
Yeah. This is true. So I feel like a key thing here is like, okay, why do we why is it limited to just developers slash entrepreneurs who are already in blockchain, right? I feel like we should be saying like anyone who has ever started a business or is sort of entrepreneurial, and anyone who has is who likes programming, right? Like as opposed to just like within the niche of people who are already within it, like the aspiration I think should be broader, because the aspiration can be broader, but the execution narrower in a focused way, right? So yeah, I think there's definitely value in solving that problem in terms of being able to get, in a way, sentiment, like, okay, oh, this particular programming language has this flaw, or this particular way of working in this chain or in this environment outside of blockchain, like we have this problem. How do you build that feedback loop, right, where people do you go to GitHub and try to run like sentiment analysis on like GitHub repo or on Twitter or something like that, right? Yeah.
I feel it's much like easier and faster to like work from what bottom up, like on a local scale, to what requires from you to do, not like go around and find what others people want you to make. I think it's much better what you want to make and what your nearby people want. And
Yeah, 100%. Could not agree more. Okay, so this is you.
Cardano starter kits plus API. High entry barriers for community members ready to contribute diverse experience and talents toward mainstream adoption of Cardano. So yeah, we have a lot of talented people, and they don't know how to to give help. Describe your solution. Free open source APIs, project-based learning, resources that empower people from different backgrounds to drive adoption of Cardano. Everything open source I like. Everything API I like. Learning I like.
So this is the project that we mentioned earlier in terms of people coming together from like different proposals or just community members coming together. I think this is a project which actually illustrates the strengths of one of Catalyst, but also of sort of systematic thinking, but also big picture thinking, right? it's fundamentally about understanding problems, right? So like it's problem-based learning, right? Which then becomes, project-based learning, right? So, a project has a structure, but that structure is only arrived at once you understand a problem, right? And so, from that perspective, I think it's really, really awesome. And then, actually implementing like an interface, right? Sort of, the API basically, where from a technical standpoint, people solving problems can be able to interface with functionality of Cardano a lot easier, so they don't have to, they don't have the cognitive load of like, I need to, go and program this, include this myself. It's already trusted, because a whole bunch of people have already kind of used it in the context of the API. You can be able to go in and have a look at the code yourself, right? Because again, it's free and open source. Yeah.
It's very hard to say something bad about it, and there is a lot to say good about it. But I would want to mention that this addresses the actual challenge very well, like what to bring in entrepreneurs and the reasons why this is like this is the reason why when they come in, what's gonna happen, and gives like a solution. Like, okay, here is something, there is a project list or a focus, and choose your focus, and when it's done, it's an open source and everybody can use it, and it can be used onward for solving other problems. So this is such a scaling thing, which I like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So actually, I suppose just to outline, Dandelion is the API side of this, and Workshop maybe is the project-based learning, aspect. But then, all within Gimbal Labs, that's the idea is that they all live within, Gimbal Labs. Cool, awesome. Now number 12, from Kyle. Start. Address gap in SPO, stake pool operator, education/communication. Problem statement. A significant gap exists with the availability of critical, concise, and thorough educational content targeting Cardano stake pool operators. Okay. Yeah, I think so far majority of stuff is like from the 3 companies, or maybe actually just 2, like Cardano Foundation and IOHK/OG. Okay, describe your solution to the problem. Create high value content targeting stake pool operators and establish communication channels, bridges, to enable effective dissemination and feedback to the Cardano Foundation. What do you think?
So basically, they are like gathering up, and they like collaboratively decide what needs to be done and give feedback to Cardano Foundation. Did I understand correctly? Address gap in specific education, or they collaboratively try to understand the problem, or like they are missing. I think it's more about like grouping up and like making a pool of pools, like a like a foundation of like there is one IoT, there is an Morgard, and there is a Cardano Foundation, and now everything else is another big group. Like everything who are a little guys, they're all into one. I guess that's the whole picture.
What you get. Well, so in other words, centralized.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But they still decentralized, because they are like, they all have their own stuff, but yeah, they are trying to it kind of is centralized, actually, if you now think about it in a funny way.
This has been the sort of like the main and obvious criticism of Spokra, and I feel maybe as Spokra being stake pool operators collective representation assembly, which is a whole mouthful. But it's down there.
And now I know who they are. Well, the Spokra, of course, I haven't been there. I heard it before.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, well,
There's. Yeah. No, go on.
I don't have much. Disconnected. Am I disconnected? No.
No, no, you're good.
Anyway, I'm a not stable operator, so it's hard to like speak. But I, I assume when you're a small guy and you put something up in your basement and you try to brand and get people in, and then you feel like, okay, I'm paying all this electricity, but nobody is delegating to me, and I have my own work and I can't put so much pledge on it to like make it valuable. And then you would actually need something like a group of people who help each other. And I think this is the main goal here, to like lift up each other to the point where they can be a decision maker.
Yeah, I don't know. My bias here is I am, I very much lean, if I was to describe myself politically, I very much lean on like the libertarian standpoint, and I think less government is good, right? Like there's a difference between governance and government, right? So I think the essence of the idea here, if it can manifest as decentralized governance as opposed to a government, and part of governance, has to do with signal, right? Information, conveying information, and then making decisions based on that information. If it can be manifested as that, then yes, I'm all for it. But to me, so far, the narrative has been more of a government, which is centralized, but governance is decentralized and accountable and healthy as well, right? Because even from a content communication standpoint, or creating a feedback loop of, say, sentiment analysis, like if you can create something which is decentralized, it then means that, for example, you cannot be banned, like the Cardano Foundation, or the employees who have been hired to moderate community, just sort of do left, right, and center. Like we want to create an environment that is accountable, and create a healthy way to actually what's the word exist as a community, and being able to sense problems and arrive at resolutions, and all these different things are challenges, and the way to solve them is not to centralize, I feel. But yeah, so if that problem could be solved in a decentralized way, I'm all for it. So next up, we have got you reading.
Make ADA brand world recognized. Yes. Problem. My idea is to sponsor an international football team to make the ADA logo brand recognizable like the Bitcoin logo. Okay. So his football team doesn't have Cardano brand. Solution. We will be solving the problem of mainstream recognition and credibility. Football is the most popular sport in the world. Basketball isn't. I don't know. And, but yeah, well, the idea is there that when you have, like, as I understand, he has a sponsor of international football, so he already like does the marketing stuff, and now I guess he's just looking for funding to show everybody where is Cardano, and people, when they see the name, they might be like, "Ooh, what's that?" But I don't know, wherever I go, whatever stage I go, I see all these advertisements. I don't be like, "Oh, what is that?" When I see a name of Glugl, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not gonna Google that thing out. So there's that.
Yeah, it's excuse me. It's it's interesting because on one hand, one of the issues here is what logo,
Yeah.
right? Because the Cardano, the machine, is different to ADA, the currency, and this is a problem which I've been highlighting a whole bunch. I think we should be rallying behind the ADA logo, right, which is a lot more clearer, better than that weird, circle, too many circles, which actually represent centralization because you've got a whole bunch of big nodes in the middle. But yeah, the idea here is, and I think they're talking about football in the context of the original use of the word football, not the American version, which I believe is the most popular sport. Pause. Okay, yeah, 2 seconds. Not bad. Yeah. So I think, getting to that point where you have, the A appearing ubiquitously would be of value. One could argue that, okay, that's just on the surface, but actually exposure to the symbol is important, because symbols are really valuable. When people see the Bitcoin B, they're like, oh, they know exactly immediately what the hell that is, right? So yeah, iconography like is super important, and that's I feel like what this person is getting at. Whether a football team and that exposure is a way to go about it, I mean, I can definitely see value in it. Yeah, this is actually an idea that I would be interested in, sort of, at some point in the future.
I think it's more like a marketing challenge rather
Yeah.
than finding entrepreneurs. Although you maybe see that, and the seventh time you see it somewhere, you're gonna be like, okay, what the hell is that?
What
Why
is
is it
this?
everywhere?
Exactly. And then, okay, so this is you. Go ahead, read.
Oh my god, why me?
I'm joking. I'm the one who's reading it. But yeah, no.
Whi World MMORPG. Problem. There are not enough open source multiplayer game engines that are easy to pick up and start creating. Describe your solution: open source multiplayer game engine which everyone can download and configure as they see fit. So do you want to start before?
Oh, okay. Wait. Done. Start. Yeah. Okay. So this is, I think, yeah, the essence of this idea is actually quite rich because, gaming is like super valuable. The way I see it, as we move into the future, gaming is going to become even more and more important, right? People are going to be, because we learn through games, right? Stories inside of games, right? If you think of, you go to school, like it's a really crap model, but you go to school and there's a feedback loop, right? The incentives, there are different levels, you go from one class to a different class, etc., right? It's a game, right? But it's a game which is not, well, it's not a good game, right? So actually gaming, the way I see it, like, is the future, right? But then being able to actually like open up gaming to a point where it's like multiplayer, obviously open source, and having the ability to actually like have value in terms of incentives slash tokens, like be a core part of it, and you can be able to like take it wherever wherever you go, from whatever game, different experiences that you want to experience. Yeah, I think that's of real value. So I think big picture, yeah. What do you think?
Yep. I came here from making a game. I opened up an open source game, and lot of stolen content, and started going into the code and like, ooh, I can change this here, change that there, and get my imagination going. Oh, I want that some skeleton comes out there. Then some guy says, help, help, help. Then you have like 10 seconds to go there, and stuff are falling, and it like the imagine is gonna blow up. And when you can like code it, and you're gonna get into a lot of problems, like, okay, first I need to get that server running because it's always lagging. What the hell is going on? Then you can optimize your scripts. Then you have to like, there's so many things that like come away to like stop or block you from doing your idea, and then you have to start solving them. Because if you're passionate, when usually about your own ideas, you're very passionate, and then you're going to the extra length to solve them and Google them and understand them. And that's why I think I could be a bit better. Although, yeah, the more like the problems teach you, but I feel like we could do a better that, more like intuitive, like drag and drop, more like, and like feature adding, enabling, and like more educational. That there are a lot of barriers when I started. So that's why I made this, so we could
Improve it.
to try make an even better version, like what I went through.
It's weird because for some reason I do not remember this being in the Catalyst voting app, which is weird. I'll have to open it back up. You have not withdrawn it, obviously, because then it would not be on here. Okay. Yeah. So gamification, incentives, super powerful and valuable. Yeah. Okay, now Justin, who done start.
I think now I read, or no.
No,
Wait.
me. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I was supposed to read before, but I made you read your own.
Okay.
Or you decided to. I tricked you, but then you just went for it. Encouraging wider ADA distribution, right? Problem. Organizations that offer incentives boost productivity by at least 45%. Distributed teams are disadvantaged due to localization challenges. Okay. Okay, but there's a bit of a disconnect between the title and I feel the problem statement. If you know, because I feel okay, solving localization is important, but the title is a bit just blah. It doesn't actually represent this valuable solve that they're trying to go after. Describe the solution. Teams use our cross-chain interface to buy/deposit, manage and share crypto assets across internal sub wallets assigned to team members. Okay.
I don't get it.
Yeah, neither do I. Not at least on first.
I mean, it would be a kind of a cool way, like a bank, I guess. But we already got Cardano and its native tokens, so why not just make your own tokens, or like, and give them to your team members and add value
Yeah.
to that?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose big picture. Yeah, that's it. You just said it. There's value in actually creating, I suppose, like tokens which incentivize and yeah, because incentivization in terms of a team, recognition, etc., is super important. It's weird because in the problem statement they brought up localization challenges, but didn't really directly address them. I suppose, yeah, you could address like localization from a perspective of incentivizing like tokens, locally to achieve, some.
We have to put the disclaimer down there somewhere that we only assess these all these or all these proposals by the problem and the solution, and if they are already mismatching, then we gonna leave out a lot of information. Maybe there down there is like a very good like representation, like here is the institution, here is the foundation, here are the team members, here is the project plan and all this stuff, but from this small information we get, it's like could be rephrased differently. At least I hope, and maybe this is the experience people should get when they give out the first glance. And this is what I understand. That I feel like it's not necessary. We already have it.
Yeah. No, you bring up a really, really, really good point, which is like this experience that we're going through. This is what most people will go through once they get to voting. Like they're just gonna, they're not going to tap on the link to read, something that will take them like a good 30 minutes, in terms of, this whole bit underneath where you get to actually give a detailed plan. Most people, are not, if you've got like 78 different proposals, people don't have time to do that, given that, it's like a week for voting. Right, most people sit down in one sitting, they scroll through, they read the title first and foremost, and then they have a look at the problem statement. Maybe actually the way it's listed on the app so far is on the landing, right, where all the apps, they've got these little rectangles which just have the title of the submission. Then if you think it's interesting, then you tap on it, and then so for example, this, as I said, encouraging wider ADA distribution, on the surface, like I do not see the specific solution that is being offered inside the title. So I don't have much incentive to actually spend time to tap on it to then go on to read the problem statement / solution, let alone going to the detailed section, right? So what, in a way, what I'm trying to say is what we're doing here in the stream is what many people will do, right? And it highlights the importance of the title, problem statement, and solution sentences. Okay.
Somebody invested $1,000. I hope you did it in ADA and you did it before you, like before the voting was closed, like the registration. Then you can vote.
Yeah, exactly.
ADA MakerSpace podcast.
Is this me or you? Okay, yeah. Go for it.
I think it's me now.
Okay.
ADA MakerSpace podcast series. Ooh, more podcasts. Problem: there are no new videos to help people learn how to build smart contracts that are up to date using the Bluetooth and Marlow breakgrounds. Well, true, because it was launched like at the same time kind of when it came up. Describe your solution. 1 hour lessons anyone can watch for free that cover different aspects of using Haskell and playgrounds to build things on Cardano. Yep. I like it because it's focused. It's like for the specific thing. And when you're a developer on this challenge actually represents that how many developers we have, like who wants to get into ADA and who wants to like know stuff, and they'll be like, okay, I want more information. And then they have this voting. Okay, I vote for this. And if this gets enough votes, then it means that actually there are developers who are interested in this content. Like I've actually got this out of it. But I'm almost a bit biased too because I also watch these episodes.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to code actually, but I want to understand how developers code it, how they think, and how they clean it, and so forth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just as a quick thing, Buraksha. I probably completely butchered your name. Apologies. But yeah, if you could share with us what exactly you mean. The 1,000, was it in a particular project or just in ADA or crypto in general? Yeah, let us know in the comments. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So again, podcasts, I think, yeah, valuable. But this one's specific to the programming languages. Yeah, I think the more people are technically minded, which is not that difficult, given that something like Marlow anyone can do. It's like Lego, literally, right? With the Blockly interface, right, where you take this block and you connect it to this one. So yeah, the more people who actually have the understanding of how to technically execute stuff, the more people that we have that can actually go out and solve problems out there in the world, which I think is a good thing. Whether a podcast is the best vehicle for that, personally I don't think so, because the underlying economics of a podcast, because
yeah, you got good point, because yeah, it's new material, but then you need to be always up to date, because when 1 month this could be irrelevant, and I don't know, it depends how they actually create the content. If they just like present it and then they have like a list of GitHubs, also APIs and stuff behind it, it could be a very strong. And if they like incentive the people who are watching these like things, and they like reward, okay, now is the weekly challenge, if can you build this and upload it here, and we give out ADA for whoever does the best or whatever. Like, yeah, it all depends how it's like built up. But like we have gone through the podcast before, so
yeah. I mean, I could give my opinion in terms of like what I think the best kind of format for learning is, in terms of keeping up to date, because keeping up to date is quite important. So I suppose my two quick criticisms, if I could, is this the financial sustainability. As you said, it's a new language, and so unless you're creating, like, I don't know, clickbaity type thumbnails or lessons on YouTube, and to try and somehow get enough views and subscribers to that, you're going to be spending so much time putting together those lessons, but like, you're not going to be able to get enough of an audience, which will mean that it's, from a money standpoint, you can't be able to actually make it viable. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, if you're just using like a podcast format, as you said, you have to keep like updating them, right? So the way I see it, the way I'm sort of going about solving this particular problem on Cast is the idea of Cast is going to be 24 hours, like old TV, right? We have programmer schedule and that kind of thing, and so even with the educational slots, it's going to be basically like these playlist files which are pre-recorded, right? Which are segmented, right? Say for example, you've got a lesson on Daedalus, for instance. Like one tab could be a particular video which is which is in that playlist, and then the next tab or next feature could be a different one, and basically they're all sort of separated. So if any one of those was to change, I could just quickly, or anyone on the team moving forward could just quickly go over, create, a quick video of this new, particular feature, like within an hour or something, and slot it into the playlist so that when it plays next time, boom, that, the whole thing is actually up to date, right? It's not like a fixed video on YouTube, which you can't go in and like update. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, up to date is quite important, and just the financial element of it as well. I feel like I could go into the whole thing about that, but I won't for now. Okay. So is this me? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So Galborta, I think. Cardano post. Let me start the timer. Cardano podcast in Spanish. Okay. A bit of a difference here. Cool. Block a Block podcast. Problem statement. In 2020, Latin America registered the most current cryptocurrency users in the world, with a mere limited English proficiency. Okay, good. Or 50% on average. So the solution: create a comprehensive podcast in Spanish to expose Cardano to new audiences in order to incentivize the use of blockchain technology in Latin America.
Yep. Again, I have talked so much about the podcast, so I guess it's better to just go to the next.
The next one, yeah. But I mean, I do have a point. I think, yeah. So we've covered podcast, and the questions that we have about them. But I think what's valuable about this one is that they actually address a specific thing, which is in a particular region where most of the content to do with crypto is actually in English and not in Spanish, like localization. This is actually a valuable problem to solve. And it would be nice to actually have a conversation with Gal Borta at some point, because I think it might make sense to collaborate. He could do his podcast, but I think to collaborate in terms of creating content for Cast, that for the Spanish speaking audience, basically. Cool. So that was me, and this is you, number 18.
Form a Haskell group on Gitcoin. We need to capitalize on Gogen, but our network is in infancy. We need to coordination with external, I think, smart contract devs to deploy use cases. So he assumes that the Gitcoin platform will give us the coordination to hire developers. And solution: I'm looking to onboard Gitcoin as an environment with the grants and the pre-existing network to catalyze the commission of proposal for that. Yeah, so basically from title and problem, I put together the solution, and he works it much better. Yeah, but now, I don't know. I have a problem that it's like one site. I guess the Gitcoin is the biggest one. I assume he chose it because his popularity, and he wants to. In a sense, it's a good, because then you just you like also kind of market our Cardano developments on a different platforms where already people are building blockchain applications. And when you put bounties there, they'll be like, okay, what is this network? Why can I use my already existing skills to build there? And then they realize there is an ERC220 converter. But as a negative side, I don't know. I personally feel this is just like do you need a team to like coordinate to make projects in Gitcoin? I think this is more of a personal standpoint where you want where you want to hire your developers. And when I have a project and I have a funding, I'm not gonna just use a Gitcoin, and I'm certainly don't need to, maybe just a personal like a skill set, but I just go everywhere. Whoever offers developer, I assess them all and you choose wherever is I get my best solution or like solution or like result. So
yeah. My opinion on this is it's not really first principles thinking, right? It's kind of saying, okay, this thing exists, let's just tap into that. I think it could be more ambitious. I think the idea here is if you could, or the big idea here, if we can create an interface where, the proposals are able to understand what the best technical person and framework would be. Because if you think about it, like, it's not, you don't just need developers or programmers who have an understanding of blockchain. Like, if anything, that's like, a tiny bit. What you need is, say, someone who has an understanding of Python or something, or like understanding Web3, or a programmer who can be able to do the front end and the back end for the website interface, or if you're doing IoT, to be able to understand like Arduino and all sorts of like different stuff. So I feel like creating an interface where proposers are able to then like get their proposals into an environment where they can figure out what the best technical implementation is, and in doing so figure out who are the best people. Because it's with getting developers on, or programmers, shall I say, it also has to do with personality, right? You could have the best programmer in the world there, but if they are unpleasant people, you don't want to work with them, right? You're better off getting, say, the second or the third, in terms of skill set, but you're able to to work together, and they're willing to learn and experiment and that kind of thing. So I think I would say the essence, the big picture of this idea is that, and not just specific, let's go to Gitcoin where there's Solidity developers, and try and get them, basically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because now I reread the title and understand they are the group who they want to form the group, and they just want to use a Gitcoin platform. But yeah, I would choose anything. But from your point, actually, I had the idea that instead of like using the Gitcoin, maybe there is a much better use for the tooling for the people who want that work. Where they put down what they want, and that tool itself creates the Gitcoin proposal or whatever thing in the best scenario, and then you put more platforms. So you, from one place, you distribute to everywhere, and you like create the stuff. Yeah, but okay, that's that.
No, I agree. In a decentralized way, in a decentralized spirit. So this is me. So from John, I believe, John Depinet. So done. Start. Small sat telescope on ride share. I'm already excited about this. Right? Because I'm part of the space fam. Okay, so small satellite telescope on rideshare. So rideshares are the thing where on a rocket launch you can be able to like have your package on it and taken out to outer space. Problem statement: large satellite constellations are wreaking havoc on astronomy research. At the same time, the benefit of the rural and poor is incalculable. Okay, cool. Okay, so solution: small sat-based telescope built with off-the-shelf components, launched as rideshare on SpaceX rockets. So, from my understanding, having large satellites like block our ability from the surface of Earth being able to observe space. That's what I get from the problem. But then at the same time, there's a lot of value in astronomy for folks, basically in general, right? For those living in rural areas and who are poor, basically. Yeah. So the idea here, if I understand it correctly, is to actually get a telescope on a satellite. So instead of observing space from the ground, we're doing it from a satellite, and then we're having a telescope on that satellite. So I think there are a whole bunch of additional awesome things that go with this, because not only do you one of the problems from observing space from the ground is that you have a lot of light pollution, and obviously the atmosphere, so that tends to distort a whole bunch of imaging and stuff. So if you have it actually outside of the atmosphere, there's a lot of value there. And if it can actually be done with like off-the-shelf stuff, yeah, to me, like, this would be huge.
It's a cool idea, because then you have like right now you have so many things in the way, and now you go above that, and new age again. But
exactly.
It depends what off the shelf components. What does it mean? I think the mobile phone, when I send it out there, it won't give that higher quality compared to what we have on the planet Earth, even through the whatever, even through clouds and stuff. So
yeah, the atmosphere. Yeah. So yeah,
very ambitious and something quite different. So that's cool.
Yeah, I really, I really like this project. Okay, so number 20. So this is you.
Bad side, don't think of that previous thing is that I don't see the relation with the Cardano and the entrepreneurial.
Well, for what the satellites?
It's for the satellites, yes.
Well, with space, like you can think of it, I suppose, a bit like crypto, right? Once you solve a problem, fundamentally, you then create, in a way, like this whole wealth of potential exploration, right? So with better astronomical data or findings, right, and space exploration is the next frontier. You can then enable a whole bunch of space entrepreneurs, to actually be exploring whether it's astro mining or whatever, because at the moment we don't really have enough of that data, or a way to get that data effectively and efficiently. So opening up that that what's the word, that dimension, I think would be quite rich and quite valuable. So yeah.
Fox gifts and fundraising. Problem: GoFundMe and Just Giving are fundraising sites. The processing fee is controversial. A low-cost system that stakes funds would be better. Yep, I have felt that. And the solution: collaboration with stake pool owners to create a better solution to raising funds for personal events such as fundrails, low-income projects. Yeah, this just gives not just, but it gives like more what word I'm looking at, that when there are more entrepreneurs doing the same thing, kind of feeling, and in a new platform, which is Cardano, which has already lower fees and global, and doesn't have so much like legal stuff, I guess. There maybe probably there will be, but not the transactional legal stuff. And yeah, depends how much they gonna like rake from between. I think it's a good idea to have something of sort in Cardano ecosystem.
Yeah, yeah, it would be. I suppose the thing that just kind of jumps out to me with this is it feels like low hanging fruit, but at the same time, you know, if once crypto gets to a point of adoption, I feel there will be the smart contract equivalent of being able to have like life insurance, right? So like paying for funerals, you need like some money aside for whether it's cremation or burial, etc. So I feel like such things would be somewhat solved just automatically via crypto, that we wouldn't need things like GoFundMe / Just Giving for such functionality, right? And then aside from that, like I feel like what in a sort of libertarian, I suppose, environment that crypto would sort of usher us into, it's about rethinking the nature of charity, right? As opposed to enabling people to not be what's the word, financially responsible, which one of the things with GoFundMe is like you can just go ahead, make accuse someone of something, and then there's a big public outcry, and then you start a GoFundMe, and out of pity people contribute to that. If then whether or not the accusation is true or not doesn't really doesn't matter, right? Because you've seen this or we've seen this habit of people basically abusing abusing the opportunity or the system. So whether such efforts are to be funded, I don't know, but yeah, I'm trying to get my head around the idea of what the big picture here is. Oh, okay. I suppose big picture, even in such a an environment where we're enabling people to be self-sustaining and responsible for their own lives, even then some people fall through the cracks. So I think having the conversation about what the role of future of charity is in the future is something that big picture is worth thinking about.
I would stop you here and maybe do a little break, because we have gone 1 hour and 30 minutes and 20 proposals. So
okay.
maybe we do a part 2.
Yeah.
But
yeah. See, I did say it would make sense to do a part 2, but
Yeah.
okay, cool. This has been awesome. Let me actually just come back over here and do this, close that. Cool. Okay, so let's do like a summary kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have to point out that just for like title, problem, and solution, from that you might not get a bigger picture. It depends on how they wrote it, and probably we both gave very harsh sentiments to some people and too overwhelmingly bias or good sentiments for other. But we are just two people in the internet and going through this thing, giving our opinion, and this is how I feel it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the takeaway from today, actually, I feel like this has been good because this has, again, sort of firmed some of my beliefs or perspectives, in the importance of just understanding how humans, the audience, the majority of folks who are going to be voting, how they think, and how they're not going to be taking time out to, like, as I said, like, go through what is going to be more than 78, because initially the 78 were not the only proposals which started in Fund 2, right? I think it was over 100 proposals, and then gradually some got withdrawn, etc. But I think in Fund 3 there's going to be more, and Fund 4, and so on and so forth. So understanding that majority of folks are not going to have the time to to dig into stuff, the value of really having a great title which encompasses the problem that you're trying to solve, and then enough to get them to tap on your proposal, to then read the problem statement and the solution, because that is most likely, I would argue, like 80% of people, that's as far as they're going to get. And you're lucky for the 20, again, this is really conservative, for the remainder minority going to actually going to have a look at the details of your proposal, which you have worked on for the last 6 weeks, or probably even longer, right? But I said 6 weeks because Catalyst goes over the 6 weeks. So this has been really important, and I feel like anyone who's thinking of applying for Fund 3, this overview so far, and maybe even tomorrow's, would make a good thing to actually view and see, okay, how do I best structure my Fund 3 proposal? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you mean at the start, you mentioned that this is all experimental and the situation is gonna change, and I think this is also like a result of this experiment, like how people even gonna assess them, because look, we are two guys and we're going very fast through these things, and still hours, and we got nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah, and most people won't have that time, won't have the upside, right? The upside of them interacting is not enough, right? The whatever the however many ADA they'll be getting as a reward for voting would not be enough, for them to spend hours on hours doing it, right? Because they get the reward if they just go in and vote on one project, right? Compared to like voting for a whole bunch, same reward. That will probably be rethought, because from an incentive standpoint, it might make sense to incentivize folks to, in the same way the advisors, when they give their reviews, there's a threshold, I think, of like 3, or there was, of like 3 reviews that you need to give, and they need to be quality once they're assessed, and that kind of thing. So that might be the case with voting. But anyway, it has been really awesome going through this. There are some interesting learnings.
Stay tuned for second.
Exactly, part 2.
I have mirror.
Exactly. Which side? All right, cool, man. Tevo, yeah, stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.